The first subtle signs. There's a moment, almost imperceptible, when you realize the warmth of a connection is starting to fade. It's like a once vibrant picture slowly losing its color, the outlines of what you once held dear becoming a little blurry. In the beginning, it's easy to get lost in the rush of emotions. The laughter, the adventures, the small moments that make you feel like you're the only two people in the world. There's a rhythm to your relationship, a cadence that feels natural, even effortless. But then, one day, without warning, you notice the space between you has grown. It's not obvious at first, it's not a sudden shock to your system, but rather a quiet shift. It's like the day is just a little darker, even though the sun hasn't changed its position in the sky. In a healthy relationship, you talk about your day, your thoughts, your small triumphs, and your frustrations. You feel seen and heard. But then, somewhere along the line, those moments start to feel less meaningful. You find yourself going days without sharing anything significant. You no longer laugh at the same jokes or find joy in the things that once made you smile. You think back to when everything was different. The love was easy. It was effortless. Now it's more like a performance, a checklist of what you should be doing rather than a shared connection. It's in these moments, when the feeling is quiet but persistent, that you start to wonder, is this just a phase, or is this the end of something? The subtle signs are so small at first that they almost escape your notice. You wake up next to them, but it doesn't feel like you're truly together. There's no spark, no electricity. You talk about your plans, but there's a certain detachment. They're present, but are they really there? You might say things like, "We'll get through this, we just need to focus," or "Maybe we're just going through a rough patch." But as time passes, the rough patches begin to feel less like bumps in the road and more like the road itself. The routine becomes a wall, and every attempt to scale it feels more exhausting than the last. And no matter how hard you try to convince yourself that things will return to normal, that this is just a phase, you start to wonder, what if this is what it is now? You can feel the quiet stretching between you like a piece of elastic that's slowly losing its tension. You're still living in the same space, but the emotional proximity feels miles away. The connection you once felt, the ability to talk about anything and everything, has been replaced by an unspoken distance. You start to measure the time between your conversations, noticing that what once felt like a natural exchange of thoughts and feelings has turned into an obligation. The quiet that once was comforting now feels unnerving. This is often the first sign that something has shifted. The relationship that once felt like a secure, warm space is now a place where silence hangs heavy. You may still be there physically, but emotionally, you're drifting. The things you once talked about with ease are now avoided, or worse, dismissed. The emotional distance that's starting to form between you may not be immediately obvious to the other person, but to you, it's becoming all too clear. You begin to wonder if they notice it too, but no one says anything. The silence becomes deafening. Perhaps you try to reignite the spark. You plan a date night, buy a thoughtful gift, or make an extra effort to be kind. But even those gestures, once filled with excitement and love, feel more like obligations. You start to ask yourself, does this still feel like love? Or are we just playing roles? There's a kind of emotional numbness that sets in when you can no longer connect in the way you once did. You may find yourself going through the motions, but it lacks the vibrancy that once made it feel alive. You stop sharing the details of your day, the little things that used to matter. Conversations that once felt deep now feel shallow. You begin to wonder if this is just a rough patch or if this is the beginning of the end. The next step, the next sign, is when you stop trying to fill the gaps altogether. It's one thing to notice that there's a gap. It's another thing entirely when you stop trying to close it. That's when the realization sinks in. You can't keep pretending. You can't keep hoping that the connection will magically return. The energy it takes to maintain the facade is draining, and eventually it feels easier to let the silence linger. What you once had was vibrant and full of life. But now it's like a photograph that's slowly losing its color, fading into something that doesn't quite resemble the memory it used to be. There's still love in those moments, but it's buried under the weight of unspoken words and emotions you can no longer access. And as you sit with that feeling, that space between you, you realize that the relationship you once cherished is now just a shadow of its former self. You don't want to admit it, but you start to wonder if this is how it ends. Not with a dramatic fight, not with a loud goodbye, but with a gradual, almost imperceptible fading. It's not just that you're losing interest. It's that the bond you once shared is unraveling, thread by thread, and all you can do is watch, helpless, as the space between you grows, unsure whether you're both still trying to reach out or simply drifting further apart. As you look back on the relationship, you start to question what went wrong. Was it the small things, the lack of effort, the way you both stopped communicating? Or was it something deeper, something that was always lurking beneath the surface, waiting to surface when the time was right? You may never fully know. But one thing becomes clear. This subtle shift, this quiet withdrawal, is often the first real sign that the relationship is in trouble. And so, you're left with a question. Is this still the relationship you want, or is it time to let go? The answer isn't always clear, and it might not come to you all at once. But the first subtle signs are there. And acknowledging them is the first step toward understanding whether this fading love is something that can be saved, or if it's simply the end of a chapter you didn't realize had already closed. The communication breakdown. What's more painful than silence? It's the lack of words when the words you need to hear are the ones you long for the most. The foundation of any relationship, romantic or otherwise, rests on communication. It's the thread that ties two people together, weaving a fabric of understanding, empathy, and shared experiences. Without it, the relationship begins to fray at the edges, and before long, the fabric starts to unravel completely. When communication breaks down, it's like a light that flickers out in the middle of a storm. The darkness envelops everything, and you're left fumbling in the shadows, trying to make sense of what once felt so certain. In the beginning, communication flows naturally. You talk about your hopes, your fears, your dreams for the future. You share intimate moments, personal struggles, and every tiny thought that crosses your mind. It's this constant exchange of words, thoughts, and feelings that makes you feel connected. It builds trust, it strengthens your bond, and it nurtures a sense of closeness. But as time passes, something shifts. The conversations become more and more sparse. The once easy flow of words starts to slow, like a river drying up in the summer heat. At first, you tell yourself that it's just a phase. Maybe they're going through something at work. Maybe they're stressed, distracted, or just tired. But as the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into months, the excuses begin to ring hollow. You realize that this isn't a temporary lull. The communication has stopped flowing, and the more you try to force it, the more strained it feels. You begin to search for words to express what's in your heart, but they feel like they're trapped somewhere deep inside you, unable to escape. When you do speak, the words are either met with silence or short, dismissive responses. You've tried to initiate meaningful conversations about your relationship, about the future, about the things that matter to you, but every attempt is met with a wall. The disconnect is palpable. You're standing right in front of them, but they feel a million miles away. And what hurts the most is not the silence itself, but the fact that it's not a silence born from a lack of things to say. No, it's a silence born from an unwillingness to say anything. It's the silence of emotional withdrawal. This is where the emotional isolation begins. You begin to feel like a stranger to the person you once shared everything with. When you look at them, you realize that you don't know them as well as you once did. Their eyes, once so familiar, now seem distant. Their smile doesn't light up the room like it used to. The energy that once pulsed between you has fizzled out, leaving only a cold, empty space in its wake. And it's not just the big things that you stop talking about, it's the little things too. The everyday moments that once made you feel connected. You no longer share those tiny snippets of your day. You don't tell them about the funny thing that happened at work or the beautiful sunset you saw on your way home. Those moments that once sparked conversation now pass without a second thought. It's as if you're living parallel lives, walking side by